Oh, down here.
Oh, I got it.
Okay.
What do I do? You know, on the, your iPad's working.
What's that?
Your iPad's working.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You ready now?
No, it's like, yeah, we needed help. Okay.
And then
All
I'll
right.
announce for closed session.
With that?
Session without Buddha? He is, right.
No, Okay, ready? Okay.
Good evening and happy holidays. I would like to call the December 11th, 2025 Board of Directors meeting for the Santa Clara Valley Open Space Authority to order. We call roll.
Director Kennett,
Here.
Director Matthews,
Here.
Director Chapman,
Here.
Director Sutherland,
Here.
Director Alexander, here, Director Dominguez, here, Director Gill.
Here.
All right. And go right into announcement regarding the items to be discussed in closed session will be made prior to closed session.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's one item in closed session, conference with real property negotiator. And that's the only item for tonight. The details are on the agenda.
Okay, then. We will turn to closed session. We are back. So do we have a report from closed session?
The one action on, the one item on the closed session tonight, there is a reportable action. The board has approved the transfer agreement to a resolved encroachment on the Pfeiffer property. And it was unanimous vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. All right, now move on to public comments. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring to address the board in any matter not on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Do we have anyone that wishes to address the board, either on Zoom or in person?
There are none.
All right, we will then move on to the approval of the November 13th meeting minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Are we approving the minutes from the last meeting? Something tells me I need to abstain because I wasn't present.
I will be abstaining as well. So you and I were not there. Yes.
Director Kenneth,
Yes. Yes.
Director Matthews,
Abstain.
Director Chapman,
Abstain.
Director Sutherland,
Yes.
Director Alexander,
Yes.
Director Dominguez, Director Gill.
Yes.
Did I call you Director Chapman?
Mhm.
Did you said yes?
Abstain.
Oh, abstain. Okay.
Yeah, you got everybody?
Yes.
Okay, the screen isn't coming up with the.
It's not voting again.
It's doing its thing where I can't see the vote. Okay,
Do you want me to look at it?
you can check.
Yeah, you don't feel, I can't see it.
I know, we're deprived over here. Okay. Okay,
It is not working either.
no.
She said just refresh.
Mm-mm,
Doesn't she even vote?
no,
Well, yours isn't still up, right?
okay, well.
First came up, but it went ahead.
Okay, so, who made the motion? Okay, so we have a motion, Director Alexander, second by Director Kennett, to approve the minutes, and we call roll, so the meeting minutes are now approved. Yeah, I am recalling from this. Okay, all right, we are on to approval and consent items. Is there anybody wishing to pull any items from consent? Hey, there we go.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay. So you have a motion to pull, we have a motion to approve the consent calendar from Director Kent with a second by Director Dominguez. There's my screen. Okay. Now let's call the vote.
Director Kenneth,
Yes.
Director Matthews,
Yes.
Director Chapman,
Yes.
Director Sutherland. Yes. Director Alexander,
Yes.
Director Dominguez. Yes. Director Gill.
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes unanimously. All right, we are on to new business. I hate to read these, so I'm just gonna pout when I read them. We have to acknowledge a board member resignation and provide direction to staff to fill a vacancy here by special election or appointment, and to appoint 3 board members to an ad hoc nominating committee. Carol?
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Caroline Hernandez, Clerk of the Board. And tonight's recommendation is for the board to provide direction to staff on how to fill the vacancy. I apologize, Director Alexander, I'll be referring to you like you're not in the room, but you're here. Either by voting to hold a special election or by voting to fill by appointment. And if your choice is to fill by appointment, then we need to select a 3-member nominating committee that would be selected to perform the duties of reviewing and selecting the applicant. So on Thursday, December 4th, staff received an email from Director Alexander letting the chair and the authority know that she plans to step down from her role effective Thursday, December 11th at midnight. And Director Alexander's current term is through Friday, December 4th, 2026. Oops. Pursuant to Government Code Section 1780, the board may fill a vacancy either by appointment within 60 days of notification of a vacancy or the effective date of a vacancy, whichever is later, or fill the vacancy by calling a special election. If the board does not act, a vacancy may then be filled by the County Board of Supervisors. And then just for your reference, 60 days from our effective date of December 12th is February 12th, 2020, or it's February 10th, 2026. And so earlier this year, staff received an estimate from the Santa Clara Valley or the Santa Clara County Registrar of Voters for cost estimate for an all-mail ballot special standalone election. And those estimated costs on the low end range from 2.1 million to 3.4 million on the high end. And the final cost isn't determined until after the election is over, when all the costs of labor and printing is tallied up. So we wouldn't know the exact costs. Board policy, the board operating rules and procedures state that if the board votes to fill the vacancy by appointment, a chairperson shall appoint a 3-member committee to seek and screen applicants and recommend qualified candidates. So the other option would be to vote for appointment. The effective date of the vacancy would be December 12th, 2025. A notice of vacancy, letting the public know, would go out December 12th, 2025. During that period of time, an application would be posted on the website, and the notice of vacancy would be posted to 3 locations within the jurisdiction as required by the statute. And then the earliest date to vote to appoint would be January 22nd, 2026. And then should you choose to go that route, we would select the ad hoc nominating committee. And so the next steps are to for the board to discuss whether you would like to select either the special election or the appointment. And then should you vote to fill the vacancy by appointment, then the board would then need to discuss who they would like to select for the nominating committee. So any questions about that process?
No, and we need 2 separate motions, okay.
Yeah, the first to select filling the vacancy either by special election or by appointment.
Madam Chair, yeah, Director Alexander, you're probably already there, but you probably want to recuse yourself from these votes.
Before we deliberate, is there anything you want to, do you want to ask anything before we start talking about you? No. I like giving you a hard time. I really have enjoyed working with you. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so then I will open up for board discussion. Does anybody have a recommendation they would like to put forward?
I'd like to move to the appoint.
I'll second. Okay. Straight to the point. Yes.
Take any public comment? I don't know if there's.
Yes. Do we have any public comment on the first motion?
No, no.
Okay, thank you.
And then give me 1 second.
Yes. So. Perfect. Okay, so we have a motion to acknowledge the board member resignation and provide direction to staff to fill the vacancy by appointment. And that was moved by Director Kennett with a second by Director Sutherland.
Director Kennett,
Yes.
Director Matthews,
Yes.
Director Chapman,
Yes.
Director Sutherland,
Yes.
Director Alexander. Oh, I'm sorry, Director Alexander is recused from this vote. Director Dominguez. Director Gill.
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes unanimously. Okay, now the second item is to appoint a three board members to an ad hoc nominating committee, and I would like to propose that we fill the ad hoc committee with the former chair, and the former chair, the incoming chair, and the incoming vice chair. So that would be myself, Director Sutherland, and Director Dominguez.
I have a question here.
Yes.
So you said is coming vice chair, right? How you decide at this time?
Because this is my last full meeting chairing, and then Director Sutherland will chair starting in January.
I know, but how you know at this point? Who will be chair or who will be vice chair? You cannot predict anything.
Cannot predict anything. Okay, I am going to assume that the board will appoint Director Sutherland as the incoming chair.
I understand that anybody will be there,
Yeah.
but before the vote on that time. So we cannot predict at this point. This is the right way.
Yeah.
So once you have that election, then on that time we can look at that who will be the chair or who will be the vice chair.
Okay, well, then we will strike my comments and able to say I would still like to appoint Director Sutherland and Director Dominguez along with myself to the ad hoc. I'll
Yes.
second that.
That makes sense.
Okay. I'll second that. And. Yep. Kathy is the second one's Director Sutherland. Oh, this is- Okay. Oh. All right, do we have any, before we take the motion, there's no any public comment on the motion?
Very none.
Okay, thank you. All right, so motion to nominate Director Chapman, Director Sutherland, and Director Dominguez to the ad hoc nominating committee.
Director Kenneth,
Yes.
Director Matthews,
Yes.
Director Chapman,
Yes.
Director Sutherland,
Yes.
Director Alexander. Oh, I'm sorry. Director Alexander's recused herself in this vote. Director Dominguez,
Yes.
Director Gill.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. That motion passes. Great.
And then just to follow up, because you voted to fill the vacancy by appointment, this will get deployed tomorrow. So we'll likely have staff post the notice on the website, here at the office, at the preserves. We'll open up an application period, which will span from tomorrow, December 12th, likely into January, before the packet posts on January 16th.
Okay,
And then staff will follow up with our new nominating committee with applications as they come.
okay.
Through the chair, could I just ask the clerk of the board, are we planning to post this at a public institution within Director Alexander's district, like Campbell City Hall or Campbell Community Center or someplace like at the library or whatever?
Yes, so there's been a few locations that have been scouted for posting that the election code requires us to post the notice in 3 publicly accessible places within the jurisdiction, but we can definitely do it within District 5 as well. And I'll probably solicit a little bit of help from you, Director Alexander, regarding that.
Okay. Any other questions for Carolyn on process? Okay. All right, we will now move on to the next item. This is the appointments of the expenditure plan oversight committee members. Okay. David Burkhardt, Dennis Watson, Linda Marquez, and Caitlin Dempsey Murray for a new 4-year term ending December 31st, 2029.
Hello again, directors. Caroline Hernandez, clerk of the board. And tonight's recommendation is that the board of directors reappoint expenditure plan oversight committee members David Burkhardt, Linda Marquez, and Caitlin Dempsey Moraes to a new 4-year term ending December 31st, 2029. The Expenditure Plan Oversight Committee is a 7-member committee that meets up to 4 times per calendar year and is directed to review Measure Q and Measure T parcel tax expenditures to ensure they conform to the voter-approved expenditure plan. Their tasks include reviewing the annual audit and report prepared by the independent auditor and submit the committee recommendations to the board. Criteria for membership to the Expenditure Plan Oversight Committee includes being a resident of the jurisdiction, being at least 18 years of age, and neither an elected official nor employee of any agency or organization that benefits financially from the proceeds of the parcel tax, and must be willing to serve a 4-year term. And so the EPOC has 3 current members with expiring terms at the end of December. David Burkhardt, who currently serves as chair, Linda Marquez, who serves as vice chair, and Caitlin Dempsey Moraes, who was recently appointed by your board in September. All 3 have expressed their continued interest in serving on the committee. David Burkhardt has served on the EPOC since January of 2021. Linda has served since September of 2023, and Caitlin, of course, has served since September 25th, 2025. Oh, and if reappointed, the new 4-year term begins January 1st, 2026, and will go on through December 31st, 2029. And so is there any questions?
Do we have any public comment?
They're not.
None of the members are here to, yeah.
Oh, if there's a member on Zoom, who would like to talk or comment on this item, please raise your hand. Yeah, there. Okay, thank you. All right.
I have a question. We're approving 3, but there's a 4th one listed up there. Dennis Watson.
I think Dennis Watson's name got held over, and I apologize.
Okay. Okay, so it's David Burkhardt, Linda Marquez, and Caitlin Dempsey
Yeah.
Moraes. Okay. Yeah, that's, yes. Good catch. Okay, any other questions from colleagues? No.
I'd like to move that we approve the reappointment of the 3 EPOC committee members.
I second.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the appointment of David Burkhardt, Linda Marquez, and Caitlin Dempsey Moraes to serve a new 4-year term ending on December 31st, 2029. By Director Sutherland with a second by Director Alexander.
Director Kennett,
Yes.
Director Matthews,
Yes.
Director Chapman,
Yes.
Director Sutherland,
Yes.
Director Alexander,
Yes.
Director Dominguez,
Yes.
Director Gill.
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes unanimously. Great. All right. We'll now move on to accepting the annual expenditure plan status report for fiscal year 2024, 2025. Yes.
Good evening, directors. Justina Teen, Fiscal Services Officer. Tonight, we are presenting the annual expenditure plan status report for fiscal year 24-25. As required by both Measure Q and Measure T expenditure plans, an annual status report is to be provided to the board on or before January 1st of each fiscal year. And the report in your packet covers the revenues received, and the expenditure spent from July 1st to 2024 to June 30th, 2025, as well as the report of all the project status of as of June 30th of 2025. Additionally, an independent audit is to be conducted, of which the results were presented to the board earlier last month, where the auditors have concluded that our financial statements were free from material misstatement and that we were in compliance with the fiscal safeguards that were outlined in the expenditure plans. Namely, no more than 2 million as approved by the board in June of 2024 is to be used for administrative expenses, and no more than 1/10 of 1% is used for EPOC, Expenditure Plan Oversight Committee's activities. And so each year, the financial audit and the status reports to be presented, also presented to the Independent Expenditure Plan Oversight Committee. And EPOC reviews these reports. They provide an independent review. They even do a little small audit of the transactions, and they submit an oversight report with their recommendations to the board. To recap, the authority received approximately 7.9 million in net parcel tax revenues last fiscal year. For that reporting period of July 1st to June 30th, the agency recorded a total of approximately 7.88 million of expenditures between Measure Q and Measure T approved project and grant disbursements. So there's a recap of the breakout. The first column is Measure Q expenditures. The little talking box is blocking it, but that one's Measure T expenditures. We spent collectively about 5 million on projects. We dispersed a little under $800,000 to our grantees under the Urban Grant Program. There are the Expenditure Plan Oversight Committee costs of about 8,000, which is that 1/10 of 1% maximum cap. We also recorded administrative costs about a little under 1.6 million. And there is a fee that is mandatory. What happens is the assessor's office collects our parcels for us, and they take 1% off the top. And so we receive a net of the 99%. And so that is the cost of the fee for Measure T. There's no incoming revenues for Measure Q, therefore there's no costs. And so, yeah, total expenditure is about that 7.88. And then, so just to kind of give additional information about the major expense categories, the breakdown of the expenditures, they're all found in Section 1 of the report. And then Section 2 is more related to the status of the projects, the active projects funded by Measure Q and T. Projects are grouped by expenditure plan categories 1 through 4. There is a sample project detail page to kind of quickly show the board, the oversight committee, any members of the public, how to read each project detail page. And to give the board a sense of the number of projects that staff worked on and was tracking, we had 52 projects and 22 Urban Grant Program grants that were active and were funded in the fiscal year, making a total of 74. And of the 52 projects, five of them were completed on or before the fiscal year end. And so the breakdown of this, the first graph on the left is a breakdown of how much the number of projects that are in each category. As the board can see, a bulk of our projects that we track are in expenditure plan category 3, which covers the maintenance of existing preserves, as well as capital improvements, the environmental educational program, and just field operations and maintenance of our land. There is the middle graph is the number of projects by status. And so we had a few that were on hold. We also had 5 completed projects, and we have a lot of ongoing projects, which is, again, a lot related to field just maintenance and operations. Those don't end. They don't have a start and end date. They keep going. And then the last on the right, that pie chart, that's a breakdown of the actual dollars. So of that 7.88 million, how is that broken down by the expenditure plan category? How they're funded. Again, about half of it goes toward EPC 3. And then any questions regarding the report, any specific areas, section 1 or 2 that I could try and do my best to answer?
Okay.
Director Tyrone has. About the specific projects or is what you discussed already?
Just any questions regarding the report. So it could be, I'll try my best with the projects. Yes.
I have a couple.
Mhm.
Project 344 Yagas Creek. And it's EP under. EPC2.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering why that was delayed.
240, 244, 344. So for that project, if I recall correctly, we are waiting for a habitat stewardship program manager, just. Yes, it's a staffing. Mhm.
And then, so the one that where you say how many visitors go to each preserve,
Mhm.
that information was phenomenal. Sierra Vista, oh my gosh. Take it. So many people. But I was also wondering, how come you didn't include that for Mayana Walk?
For Mayana Yagma, so we could update, we needed update to the program, the description for the project, but it is also our newest preserve. We're still collecting data, but yeah,
So in future,
yes.
thank you. So I think that's such a sensitive area and we're so protective of it. I think it would be good for people to understand that it's not like Sierra Vista where you can just show up and it requires more sensitivity, all this stuff. And I think that would maybe show it.
Okay.
And then, for you talk about the volunteer program. It lists the number of volunteers, but, I'm hoping that future reports could include the number of hours, because some of our volunteers I know are always there. And, I think that hours are important to note too, because it's a huge value to the organization.
I'll take a look into that.
Okay.
Because I do know also the program, the volunteer program itself also provides program updates to the board.
Okay.
And then we could see how that can align with the reporting,
Okay.
whether it goes.
They included it too, though?
I'll take a look into
Okay.
it. Yeah, because it mostly for me, I focus more on the expenditure spent. And because we don't actually pay our volunteers, it's not like the expenses gets capped. Like the volunteer hours aren't captured as costs in here.
Oh, I see what you're saying. It's the cost to run the program. not the-
Yes, yeah. So I'll kind of consult with and see how that correlates and what data should belong in. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. So. First quarter expenditures on page 7. Maybe a different one. I'm so sorry. It's the next one. It's the next report. Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Thank
Okay,
you.
okay.
Dr. Mack.
Very thorough report.
Oh,
Just
thank you.
everything is in there, in one form or another, so I appreciate it. I'm looking at the district I represent, which is Penitencia Creek and Sierra Vista. I think there's probably an awful lot to do on Penitencia Creek Trail because of all the weather damage. A lot of the park trails are not open, so just wanted to note that there is ongoing funding for that kind of trail repair and.
I'm trying to think of which.
You're finance, so it's not up to you to tell me this, but I just wanted to note that.
Sorry, what I'm really good at is if you give me the project number and the system,
Yeah.
okay,
But for the record, I'm interested in that.
got it. Oh, but I can relay that back to field operations, but
Yeah.
it's not our trail.
Honest, been washed out.
Okay,
That's the county parks trail.
There was a notation here about the trail connecting Bart to the Ridge Trail. We have to have a hand in it somehow.
Through the chair, if I may, we did have a grant to, there have been a couple grants that were in that area. I think it was the Bay Area Ridge Trail in particular, that was the connection of BART to the Penitencia Creek Trail. They did some signage, some, as I recall, bilingual trail hikes, things like that. So there may be reference in the report to that particular grant.
And it may be referring to the improvements were done right at the BART station.
Yes,
Some of them in penitentiary.
Exactly. There was signage at BART station showing how to get to the trail.
Okay. And I'm just curious, this probably was before my time, it was quite a large expenditure for Santa Clara Unified.
a grant, is that,
$13,000 behind. I think it was $30,000. Can you tell me what that project was?
I am assuming it's a grant.
It was a grant.
It was a grant?
Grant
Yes.
program.
Because we have several grants awarded to Santa Clara Unified.
That one on table 8.
Is it a particular creek?
25.
Oh, table 8, not 12, okay. Oh, sorry. So it's not this table.
And staff can get back to me outside of this meeting.
What is it? This
I
one.
was just curious what that was.
Well, there's still 2. Oh yeah, but this is a big one. 76.
I think I just need to refresh my memory. We had a couple grants to the Santa Clara Unified. So that's why the number's high, because it's accounting for a couple different
Right.
grants in here. And exactly, one of them is completed from,
Large project, it was several separate grants.
exactly. I think I'll have to go. I can look
You
it
can
up
get
real
back
quick
to
and
me.
yeah,
Okay.
double check.
Well,
76.
that's feeds into the question I was gonna ask. So the grant that you're showing, the disbursements and then the status, this is cumulative. So this is necessarily a last award. These are the grants that are still in play with the various organizations and when they're closing out and what they're expending, depending on when we award it or not.
So I can explain. So table 8 is the disbursements we made during the fiscal year that's being reported, 24, 26. There is a table 12, back on page 96 of the report. That is the total, it shows all the grantees that we've awarded since the inception of the program, of the grant program, the award amount, the total disbursements, and any balances left for that grantee. So 2 different tables. One is just for a period of time, then the other one is of all time.
How are, if you guys want to find out how are we doing on the granting, they're paying, to completing the work, are they on schedule, anyone behind schedules, anybody, not meeting goals?
Generally speaking, folks are on schedule meeting goals. There are a couple of extensions that we've had to put in place when, for whatever reason, programs weren't able to, take place, that kind of thing, but there's nothing that's egregious or a problem. And Lena here was able to pull up the summary of the grant that Director Matthews was just asking about, so I thought I could address that too real quick. The $200,000 grant was awarded in 2023. It was for their program called EATING is the acronym, Equitable Access Through Implementing Native Gardens. And it was a project aimed at providing socioeconomically disadvantaged English language learners and special education students with outdoor environmental classrooms at a couple of particular schools in Scotland and Pomeroy. And then it goes on to the multiple benefits and the way that the programs were delivered. So that was the $200,000 grant. There were a few others in that area as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions? Kind of, yes?
I just forgot, and I'm so sorry to mention that this is phenomenal information, and thank you very much, and I just really appreciate all your
Sure.
attention to this and your support, thank you.
No problem.
There's a definite, a lot of work that goes into this and that you can come up with the answer. At least something like that. No, I really appreciate that. That's great. Okay, and questions on 5, anybody here? No, okay.
So if seeing no further questions, staff does recommend that the board accept the annual expenditure plan status report for fiscal year 24-25. And please note that the report is scheduled to be presented to EPOC in January when they meet. And that's it.
Through the chair, before you take, this is a vote, right, on this? This is, yeah. Just something I wanted to point out, maybe I could get Megan Traeger's assistance on this. I was looking at page 16, which is the expenditure plan category 1, which is where you usually see acquisitions. And while that number isn't particularly high there, maybe Megan, you could just let the board know, you know, when we work with Post, they put money down, or we get grants from outside entities, it wouldn't necessarily show up here.
That's right. And Justina, of course, can go into more detail on the accounting side, but some of the acquisitions, of course, all of them are seeking partner funding, outside funding, either that's the grant, or partners at Post or whomever. And almost always that kind of outside funding goes directly into escrow, doesn't hit our books, doesn't come to us and then go to escrow. And so for that reason, we don't track it in the same way that we track our own money position.
Yes, correct. But however, on the detailed, each project's detail page, for example, on page 46 for project 308 for the Fisher Creek repairing restoration that was funded by Bonneville Environmental Foundation. The table does outline how much is paid by Measure Q, Measure T, and any outside external funding. So then that it would capture the entire project's costs, but also the leveraged funds as well. It's just that the summary for the EPC one, that only tracks our MQMT money that we spend. But the projects are also tracking how much outside funding is being used as well.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right. That's the expenditure and status report. I'll move to that.
So,
Okay. Is there any public comments?
If there are any members of the public joining us via Zoom who would like to comment on this item, please raise your hand. Or none.
All right, so we have a motion to accept the annual expenditure status report for fiscal year 2024-2025 as presented. Moved by Director Sutherland with a second by Director Kennett.
Director Kennett,
yes.
Director Matthews,
Aye.
Director Chapman,
Yes.
Director Sutherland,
Yes.
Director Alexander,
Yes.
Director Dominguez,
Yes.
Director Gill.
Yes.
That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Justina. I appreciate that. One other thing, that we post, the expenditure plan is posted up on the website, right? So that
Yes.
the public can also view progress and where we're meeting.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. All right, next one is receive Open Space Authority fiscal year 2025-2026 first quarter financial work plan. For period ending September 30th, 2025. Justina.
Yes. So now 24-25 is officially behind us. We are now reporting Q1 of 25-26. Well, for the record, Justina Teen, Fiscal Services Officer. Tonight is the first quarter reporting for first quarter of 25-26. The first section of the work plan financial update report is the work plan status. So this report actually is one of the reports that would show kind of the progress of the status, and that would help the board also track why on track, why delayed, when it's completed, the milestones as well. And then that status report that I just reported, that's more of like at the end of the year, the whole comprehensive. By the end of the first quarter, that's running from July 1st, 2025 to September 30th of 2025. the authority, we hosted a few events. We hosted a small cohort of high school students via Breakthrough Silicon Valley's Breakthrough Summer Experience for the second time. We've hosted an interpretive host training at Tilton Ranch Complex. We also showed up at National Night Out. We put up monument signs at the corner of Bailey and Santa Teresa at Coyote Valley Conservation Areas. We also removed almost 2,000 feet of fence with the Trail Masters volunteers support. And we also completed the audit, and we got a yay on the audit. And then so usually the first part, it kind of has graphs showing that, where each project is, and those projects are was approved by the board in the work plan. The second section is our usual profit and loss budget versus actual, as well as the balance sheet. And by September 30th going too fast. September 30th, 2025, the authority expended a little over 4.1 million, or that was about 22% of the approved budget. And more details are available in the two exhibits. There is a profit and loss statement. There's also a balance sheet in the end, and I'm available to answer any questions. And then the next section has to do with our quarterly reports. So as required by the agency's investment policy, the monthly statements are to be provided to the board on at least a quarterly basis. And as of September 30th, the total market value was approximately 15.5 million. We incurred about $4,000 in management fees with Chandler Asset Management. Overall, the portfolio is generating a average yield to maturity rate of 3.76%, and that was up from 3.72% from last quarter that was reported. Again, the feds did decrease rates, so we've been reinvesting. They are at slightly lower, but again, the summary from our advisors is that because we did come in at a very opportune time during COVID when rates were really high, that our average yield is still hovering around, the entire portfolio purchase yield is still hovering around the 4%. So looking pretty good. And so if there's any questions, I can take them, but that is the end of my quarterly update.
I think Evelyn has a question.
Yes.
You don't have to feel,
It's your right to ask a question.
thank you. And Justina, I've got to let you know, I read these things, and so
Mhm.
because I feel like I don't have a real good grasp, I'm gonna have a lot.
Sure.
But thank you for these reports. So on page under expenditures,
Mm-hmm.
the other services and expenses. For the first quarter, it's 43% of the budgeted amount. And I was wondering if you can give me a little bit of an idea about, is that unexpected? Were there unexpected expenses or, yeah?
Sure, no problem. So in the beginning of the report, the one that kind of summarizes the ones that I wrote, it kind of gives like a very high level, if you're referring to the table on page 7. But in the back, there's also a detailed line itemized profit and loss statement. For that major expense category, the main drivers of why it's so high is there's business insurance in that. So that was almost about $400,000. And so because we pay that at the beginning of the year, but it's actually for the entire year's expense, it kind of dries up that percentage as one of the biggest driver of that. Yeah,
So
but
what's that?
but that also means that it will kind of stay around, that percentage for a while. Other expenses roll in, that's in the same category. Yep. Mhm.
And then on page, well,
Page 12. Mhm.
the graph
Mhm.
that's there, you've got the green bars and then you've got the gray bars,
Mhm.
right? I think in the paragraph above it, the
Mhm.
following graph illustrates the monthly balances.
Mhm.
Instead of saying past account balances are shown in gray, I think it should say future.
So because this is the first quarter, it doesn't have a past balance yet. So what happens is next quarters, you will see the first three bars in gray. And then the current quarters are highlighted in green, and projected balances are outlined in like a low translucent gray with dotted dash lines. So the ones October to June, those are my projections of our fund balances. So they're like dashed and they're like really light gray. Right now, there's no comparison of the dark gray I use typically for the past.
Check 26 to June 26 are they're in gray, but they're future balances, right? 'Cause it's
Correct.
26. Okay.
Mm.
Okay, so maybe the color was just confusing me.
I think next quarter, it will be a little bit more obvious because the first three will be dark gray with solid lines. And then the next three would be green, and then the other ones would be the dash line
it.
gray.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Mhm.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much. That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Any other questions?
To piggyback off of
Mhm.
Director Sheldon's question, on the back to the expense category, so the other one that was high was member system library,
Mhm.
68%. Is that because you have to pay them out early?
Yeah, memberships
beginning
and
of the year.
dues, sometimes they're at the beginning of the year. The timing isn't quite at a quarterly basis, so it kind of front loads a little bit. Yeah.
But we're not gonna exceed the budget.
Yeah.
That's it. Thank you. Anybody else here?
Yeah, are you anticipating any Q3 projects that would drastically change any of your anticipated expenses to date?
By Q3,
Q2 or Q3?
not that I am aware of. And I would probably have to like reconnect with the project managers to see if there's anything that they are aware of that I might not be at the current moment. Yeah. Mhm.
There's no other questions. We need oh, wait, do we have any public comment?
If there's any members joining us via Zoom who would like to comment on this item, please raise your hand. None.
Okay, all right. Next, no other questions? Great work, thank you, Christina.
Thank you.
Motion to receive the report.
No action.
No action? Okay, all right. This is just an information item. Okay, got it. Thank you. All right, and the next one, just. Now we have a presentation on intergovernmental affairs and external funding program updates. This is one of my favorite.
All right. Good evening, directors. I'm Megan Dreger, Conservation and Strategic Partnerships Manager, and I'm joined by Lena.
Good evening, directors. Lena Ian, Conservation Policy Specialist.
So we'll be giving you an update and look ahead at these two program areas this evening, and along the way, of course, open to questions and comments. Okay, there we go. That looks more promising. One more. There we go. So this evening, we'll be going through each of these two programs, external funding and intergovernmental relations, looking back at 2025, what happened, and looking ahead at 2026 to discuss priorities. We'll be seeking feedback from the board along the way, as I said, and authorization for these general priorities moving ahead into 2026. First, a little bit about the two programs. The external funding program, of course, is bringing in funds. Some of the questions we were discussing just a moment ago with the financial reports reflect that kind of funding that comes in. This is incoming grants, but it's also other kind of funding, like when partners fund our acquisitions and that kind of thing. But the grants is largely public agencies. And so that's one of the reasons these two subjects go so well together, because a lot of external funding is from public or intergovernmental relations helps that. So the external funding program is Monica Nanez, who unfortunately couldn't be here this evening, but she manages a lot of the day-to-day work here and our grants that we receive. The other is the Intergovernmental Relations Program, which of course is Lena, and you'll hear from her in just a moment. And that is a lot of policy engagement, relationships with elected officials and their staffs, as well as our membership in coalition and other working groups. But again, there's a lot of overlap and it's a lot of synergy by having these two programs together in the same department, because a lot of the, as you'll see, a lot of the policy priorities relate to funding, and so they work really well together. Both of these programs, and I'm sure lots of things that we all do, we like to kind of compare it to this iceberg where there's only that little bit that's above the water that you can see. And that's maybe the big headline, the announcement that a bill was passed or a grant was awarded or something like that. But almost all the work is what you don't see, what's under the water. It's all the meetings and tracking agency priorities and hosting tours and all the things that go into this work that's behind the scenes, but so important because these relationships are really valuable and we want to foster them. So first, looking at external funding. Talking about grants. So again, as a caveat, we have different kinds of funding that comes in. Some funding, like when a partner funds directly into a acquisition, that's not necessarily a grant. So this is a subset of all of our external funding. And this is the kind of funding, generally speaking, where we're applying for a competitive grant. So we are one of many applications that wins, is lucky enough to win the grant in the end. This is looking back over all time. We've gotten about $90 million in grants, most of that since about 2012. And you can see by the chart there, most of it is from the state, in fact. It's largely from public agencies, but of that, the lion's share is from the state. Certainly, we work at the local and federal levels as well. And as you can see, there are significant chunks from those sources too. These are just a snapshot of looking back over all these years, the public agency funders that we've worked with. So quite a lot. Each one's a little different. Each program's a little different. Looking back at 2025 specifically, a couple highlights that are related to funding in general. One is that several staff and partners went to a conference called Bloom Conference that happened to be here in San Jose. And that is a conference that focuses on nature positive efforts, specifically from the corporate sector is one of the big groups that are involved there. So it's a nice chance for us to meet them and learn what they're looking for and what they're doing. And that's closely related to the second bullet there. Another effort we've been working on is the Nature Investment Framework, which is something where we're looking for ways to partner with the private sector, for example, large corporations, to help fund our work. And lastly, I'll mention that Prop 4, as we remember, we had $25 million was written into the bond for the Coyote Valley Conservation Program. This past year, we've worked with folks following all of that very closely. There's currently $3 million allocated, managed by the Coastal Conservancy for our program that is available to us to apply for. There have been some hiccups along the road administratively at the state level with that money, so we have not applied for any of it yet, but we certainly plan to. The bottom of the screen there are new grant awards. So these are things that were awarded in 2025. So we have 4 new ones, totaling about $15 million. You can see that very first one, 14.8 million, it was the biggie this particular year, but it was for a variety of different projects. And then looking back again at 2025, looking at all grants that were active during 2025. This is 16 grants totaling about $25 million for, again, a variety of things. Some of these are specific restoration projects. There's several that are for the Coyote Valley Conservation Areas Master Plan, and so on. And lastly, this same list, just want to highlight a couple of them here that are federal money. This is another thing that's gone on this year, of course, is watching carefully what's happening at the federal level with funding. These are the 2 federal grants that we have that are currently active. And although both were paused briefly, we were watching to see what was going to happen. They have both moved ahead. And at this point, we're moving ahead with the projects and getting good news that they look very promising. That's very good. Looking ahead to 2026, proposed funding priorities. A lot of this, of course, is implementing those existing grants. We have to always do a good job, not just on our projects, but in our management of the grants to be in good standing with our funders. We're always looking for new funding opportunities. So Monica Nanez in particular does a great job of surveying the landscape of grant opportunities and other things so that we can stay on top of it. And then supporting a pipeline for future funding, and that's more at the state level, at a policy level. And Lena will touch on that in just a moment. And with that, I'll turn it over to her.
Right, thank you, Megan. So moving to intergovernmental relations. Starting with our 2025 recap. So at the federal level, in March, Mark and Megan took a trip to DC to meet with a number of members and their staff, and it was a very productive trip. We also continued throughout the year to just manage, as Megan was mentioning earlier, the funding cuts, and both with it as they impact our agency as well as our county, a lot of it being interrelated and just monitoring things as they move forward. And then also responding to policy proposals. So the administration had put out a number of different proposals regarding rollbacks for the protection of public lands. And one specific one that we submitted a letter of opposition to was proposing to rescind the definition of harm under the Endangered Species Act. And so we just spoke with our consultants this morning, and they had received the agency received over 30,000 comments in response. And so we're still awaiting more news about whether or not that specific proposal will move forward, but it's likely that if it does not, there will be others that will, and so we'll continue to monitor that closely. At the state level, so as Megan was alluding to, a lot with Prop 4, but just a lot in general was decided at the 11th hour. A big focus within that was the appropriations for the climate bond. As Megan said, about $3 of the $10 billion was appropriated, including $3 million for the Coyote Valley Conservation Program. This included also a doubling of the original funds that were appropriated to the State Coastal Conservancy, which was something that we and our partners like Together Bay Area had been voicing our support for. So we were pleased that that came through. We also were following movement with the Cap and Invest, formerly known as the Cap and Trade program, which ultimately through legislation was reauthorized until 2046. And a new framework was established for spending the revenue generated for the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. And one notable difference is that starting in the next fiscal year, there will be $1 billion allocated annually for the discretion of to the discretion of the legislature for how it's spent. And this could include expanded applications like natural and working lands. So that is something that we will continue to voice our support for. For policy, there were a few specific conservation bills that we supported and were pleased to see passed. That includes AB 900 by Assemblymember Pappen, which requires the California Natural Resources Agency to include stewardship in annual 30 by 30 reporting. And SB 392 by Senator Grayson, which creates a new East Bay Hills Conservation Program to be administered by the East Bay Regional Parks District. And this was something that was inspired by our AB 948 from 2019. We also closely tracked a number of development streamlining bills, including SB 131, which was an effort initiated by Senator Scott Wiener that morphed into a governor-backed budget trailer bill. The intent was to streamline affordable housing through CEQA streamlining, but by the end, a lot was packed in that wasn't ultimately vetted through the committee process because of it being a budget trailer bill. And so in the new year, we'll continue to engage on this and really push for cleanup legislation to address and rein in hopefully some of the exemptions that were included for things like advanced manufacturing and just strengthening the protections for natural and working lands and some of the definitions that were included there. And so more again on the 2026 priorities in a minute, but to round off the local and regional Updates from 2025, in addition to just strengthening our relationships with the local delegation and especially some of our new members, we wanted to just mention a few of the externally led projects that did or could in the future have policy implications. Each one of them, there's a lot to talk about, but kind of we'll just touch on a high level. As many of you already know, the city of San Jose decided to defer the Coyote Valley Corridor study due to budget constraints. And so in order for that study to resume, the city council would need to reprioritize the project through a budget action. That's, as far as we are aware, not currently in the plans, but we'll continue to monitor that. Last week, the San Jose City Council approved the 2025 Climate Smart Update, through which the natural and working lands element was formally integrated into the goals and strategies for the climate action plan. So we'll continue to work with city staff on implementation and opportunities to put forward those actions. The city has also been working on a climate action and resilience plan. So we've provided initial comments on the draft for that, and we'll continue to engage as it moves forward. For the county's rural zoning update, again, don't intend to get into a lot of detail here right now on that, but can share just the latest update, which is that county staff are presenting an update to the supervisors on December 18th, and they've made clear that no decisions will be made there, but they will update the supervisors on the recent outreach that they've done in response to a lot of the comments that they had already been receiving. And then lastly, again, want to mention on the development front, we're tracking a number of development proposals in Coyote Valley, several of which stemmed from recent energy and housing streamlining bills. We'll continue to kind of approach each one on a case-by-case basis, but then also continue to communicate upwards to our elected officials to hopefully kind of daylight some of the oversights and unintended consequences from this legislation and potentially encourage or push for some cleanup, and again, trying to voice our support for the underlying intentions with a lot of these bills around housing and energy, but doing so in a way that is nuanced and that this development is occurring in the right places. So then moving into 2026, a quick overview of some of the key deadlines for the city of San Jose. Budget conversations will start early in the new year. In March, the mayor's budget message, and then budget proposals, and finally the final budget due in June. I'm sure that's, for those who've been deeply involved in that, sounds way oversimplified to how it actually works. For the state budget, the governor's budget proposal is due in January, and then there will be the May revise, and the final budget is due in June. For policy, the deadline for introducing new bills is in February, and then they go through committees, and the last day for bills to leave their house of origin is in May, and the governor must sign or veto all bills by September 1st. And then federally, theoretically, the president proposes a budget in February, Congress puts forward a budget resolution in April, and final spending bills are approved by June 30th. The federal government is currently, as we know, operating under a continuing resolution, and that's set to expire on January 30th. And there's that. Just highlighting again this table that's available that breaks down each of the districts, our districts, and their overlap with our delegation. So then moving finally into our proposed priorities for 2026. So Megan already covered funding priorities, so focusing more on policy here. This includes responding to relevant proposals from the administration, again, things like removing environmental protections or rolling back public lands protections, supporting changes to the Farm Bill that would allow special districts to be eligible for funding to implement buy, protect, sell model of farmland protection via conservation easements. That's something that we've been working on for a number of years. And then supporting the recognition of special districts as local governments for the purpose of federal funding opportunities. Also something that has been, we've been chipping away at working on. At the state level, again, building on what we've already kind of covered, given the anticipated budget deficit this year, we'll continue to voice support for, first and foremost, just protecting the general fund allocations for conservation and climate, especially to the State Coastal Conservancy and Wildlife Conservation Board. And then for Prop 4 funds, that will continue to be very much a focus. Without getting in the weeds, Megan alluded to it already, but the issue that's currently on the table with the administration of the funds is related to the fact that all previous bonds had an exemption for what is called the Administrative Procedures Act, but it was ultimately not included in Prop 4. And so the best case scenario is that the legislature will pass a bill in January that would go into effect immediately and would enable this exemption, and then we could all move forward without significant delays. But if that does not happen, there could be significant delays up to a year just to get the funding out the door. So this is really a concern, obviously, but a lot of people are working on it, and we're keeping our fingers crossed. We will continue to support also the GGRF, or Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, allocations to natural and working lands, as I had mentioned before. And then lastly, along with our partners, we're continuing to explore opportunities for new and stable funding for stewardship and maintenance, and the importance of this to supplement the capital funding that we get through bonds like through Prop 4. So just really important to have this diversity of funding sources moving forward. And for policy, these are the areas of focus. Just to mention, including in the land use planning bullet, is tracking the development of those streamlining bills related to housing and energy. And then also at the state level, the next cycle of the RHNA, or the Regional Housing Needs Allocation process, it's increasingly conservation presence is being increasingly acknowledged and to be an important thing. So it's something that we are hoping to continue engaging in. And then at the local level, similar themes, just to call out a few upcoming projects that we will track and have various staff who are engaged in different ways. This includes San Jose's general plan for your review. And we heard last week that county staff are beginning work on the open space element update. Regionally, there will be Plan Bay Area 2050 Plus and the Conservation Lands Network, or CLN 3.0 project. And we'll continue to participate in a number of working groups that have branches involved in policy. This includes the county's Climate Collaborative and Urban Forestry Alliance working group, the Santa Clara County Special Districts Association, Santa Clara County Farm Bureau, South County Farms Association, Santa Cruz Mountain Stewardship Network, and a number of others. And again, this is participation across our staff in different ways, but trying to be aware of throughout the year of what policy matters are important to these groups. So looking ahead, hopefully you received my email yesterday with the comment letter roundup. Moving forward, we would like to start sending or forwarding these emails or these letters shortly after they're submitted, so that you're aware in a more timely way, and then quarterly kind of doing a summary on consent and the agendas. And so if there are questions, we can address them. But if your board has any other suggestions or feedback on how we can be kind of updating throughout the year, please do let us know. And so with that, don't expect to be able to, it's small font on here, but just a recap of the proposed priorities as we are seeking your board's authorization as we move forward. And just a caveat as well, if things come up throughout the year that really deviate from these priorities and we need to come back for your guidance, we will certainly do so. But the intent here being to kind of lay the groundwork as we kick off the new year. So with that, I think, any questions?
Thank you, Lena. As I said, I'm a former policy person. I get into the wonkiness of the stuff that I find fascinating. Anyway, thank you, because it's a lot of work and it's a lot to track and a lot to manage. So I have a couple of questions. SB 131 on the cleanup legislation. I know there's a general chamber effort to further erode CEQA. How did those two things mesh?
Yes, so I might pass this to our legal counsel who may have more information, but from my understanding, there is a bill being put forward by the legislature to address some of the specific SB 131 concerns, and that was a carryover from last year. And the other effort that you're referring to is something that is new, and we're still learning about?
It's an initiative. The Cal Chamber has proposed an initiative, styled as, you know, do you remember the title of it? It's, you know, make California affordable again type of thing. And when you go through it, if you actually know CEQA, I had to stop reading it. Like it's just a bomb. Like it'll just gut CEQA. So
That's what I think.
it creates this whole category of what's called essential projects, but that's so broad. So it's currently at the AG's office. The AG office will be writing a title and ballot summary. So hopefully the AG is candid about what it really means, but so stay tuned. That will be circulated to signatures.
Second for signatures along with, okay.
Yeah, and the name of the act is Building an Affordable California Act.
So it sounds great.
But affordability is a hoax.
Already affordable. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Next one, SB 315, which that one was, yeah. That any word on that one, if it's coming back or it's just gonna be held until it dies? I'm hoping it's held till it dies, but
Can you remind me keywords on that one?
that is the one that would the reduce the parks and open space funding from Quimby.
Oh,
And all the environmentals got on board and we even got the city of San Jose to chime in.
yeah, I have not heard anything more recent since that was held in committee, and so we can certainly reach out to our consultants and ask if they're hearing rumblings of that returning.
Just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
We have to, you know. Rise up.
Mhm.
I think that was it for me and Director Kennett. Matthews, Sutherland. No. Okay.
All right.
This is just information, right? Or do we need a vote?
We do need a vote. Yes,
Do
please.
we need a vote? Okay.
Accept.
Second. Do we have any public comment while we are waiting?
If there are any members of the public who are joining us via Zoom who wish to comment on this item, please raise your hand. There are none. Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion to authorize the legislative priorities for 2026, moved by Director Kennett with a second by Director Matthews.
Director Kenneth,
Yes.
Director Matthews,
Yes.
Director Chapman,
Yes.
Director Sutherland,
Yes.
Director Alexander,
Yes.
Director Dominguez,
Yes.
Director Gill.
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes unanimously. Thank you so much for your hard work on this and keeping us informed. And I do appreciate the email that you sent out and getting copies of those, because sometimes in conversations with other groups, it's helpful to have that, you know, at least to know where you stand on something. And that's very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we now move on to Citizens Advisory Committee meeting summary, Citizens Advisory Committee.
That would be me. What I wanted to comment on was, Carolyn, thank you so much for sending out the briefs from the CAC meetings. I think that it covers everything much better than I could say. And so I know that we all got them. I'm gonna leave it at that and say thank you very much.
Next on, we have General Manager.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, board members. First thing I just wanted to do is just acknowledge the tremendous policy and funding report from Megan Drager and Lena Ian. I was just saying to Mark a second ago, I think, at least since I've been here, that's probably the most comprehensive policy recommendation for where we see adding value, where we want to see support, and what we're going to be advocating for going forward. And so I want to thank the board for their endorsement of that. And it fits very nicely with something, a few things that I wanted to report out on. Increasingly, this agency is seeing its work through this filter of prioritizing nature-based climate solutions. And that is the direction that natural and working lands are going in California. And different agencies, local, state, regional, nonprofits, foundations, everybody's trying to figure this out. So in terms of the state's climate program and climate policy, when you look at it, at what policies have been approved, you've got a strong emissions reduction policy platform. You have a strong energy platform. You've got investments in transportation, right? And on paper anyway, you've got very strong policy commitment to natural and working lands as infrastructure and nature-based solutions. But as we know, through threats, when push comes to shove, emissions reduction, energy, infrastructure, those are taking precedent. And so today there was a gathering in San Francisco, downtown there. The Open Space Authority, along with the Nature Conservancy and the Climate Center, which is based in Sebastopol, put on a convening that brought together state leaders, Governor Newsom's Resources Secretary, Wade Crowfoot, the Deputy Secretary for Climate Change, Amanda Hansen. You had representatives of tech and business, you had foundations, you had agricultural representatives and public agencies. And the whole conversation, and actually you had investors too. So the whole conversation was about how do we meet this moment to find investment, catalyze investment from different sectors to really achieve these nature-based climate solutions. So it was a fascinating conversation. And it was really, really great to have Wade Crowfoot there, the Resources Secretary, because he made a point of saying 2026 is going to be a banner year. It's Governor Newsom's last year in office. It will likely be the close of time for some major employees in the Resources Agency. So who's going to take the mantle and carry it forward? So the Resources Agency is planning some major events and objectives for 2026 along the lines of what you just heard from Lena and Megan. And so we're going to be very active in that. Along those same lines, the Nature Conservancy, obviously a global conservation organization, but they have a California office and they're very strong on policy and conservation and mobilizing partners around the state. They've been looking at pilots in different counties in California. And so they chose Mariposa County, Santa Clara County, and LA County. And each one a little bit different. You've got a rural county, a peri-urban kind of county here, and then you've got a majorly urban county in Los Angeles. And they've been in each of those counties bringing together all the players around parks, open space, resource management, and trying to figure out where's the Venn diagram, the middle of the Venn diagram where we all meet and we could accelerate conservation and investment in conservation. Are there governance structures that would work better? So for instance, here in Santa Clara County, we did a report with them, and Mariposa, LA, and Santa Clara counties are going to get together on December 16th for a meeting to see where we overlap. Here in Santa Clara County, this was earlier this year, we brought together all the parks and open space and resource management and habitat players. And we talked about why is funding, what's slowing funding down? How do we get it moving more quickly? Are our missions, our different missions preventing us from working more together toward these common goals? If the state blessed a certain type of government governance structure locally, something they're calling like a natural infrastructure authority, which the Open Space Authority could wear that hat, right? So if we had like these governance structures that were uniform around the state, but they operated just a little bit differently in each county, and if we could figure out ways to make money move faster, where each state agency doesn't have its own grant requirements and all these kind of things. Megan knows this in her sleep. Are there ways that we can, through governance and funding, capitalize on this to help get solutions for nature quicker and more effectively? So this is the kind of work that's going on right now, and it's really, really exciting. And I hope in 2026, it will be kind of the launch of some really new initiatives. And then the other thing I just wanted to report out, we've had 2 briefings of the California Energy Commission in the last week. We reported out previously that we had briefed the California Public Utilities Commission on the LS Power PG&E, which Mark's going to report out in a second. Now we've shifted to the California Energy Commission because by law, they have oversight over something called AB 205, which was put into law, what was that, 2 years ago, maybe? So in order to fast track clean energy proposals, AB 205 allows energy developers who are building solar, battery storage, things like that, to bypass local government zoning and planning and go directly to the California Energy Commission to have these considered and hopefully approved for them. So as you know, there's a battery storage proposal that will be filed with the California Energy Commission in January for Coyote Valley at the corner of Santa Teresa Boulevard and Bailey. This would be 40 acres of shipping containers with batteries in them for energy storage. Unclear yet what energy they're storing there and where it's coming from. So we put together a very effective briefing for the California Energy Commission staff and their commissioners. I want to thank Lena for participating and helping with that. Linda Kwong also did a lot of work on this before she went on maternity leave. And basically kind of the compelling information we were sharing is the state has indicated that nature-based solutions is a climate and conservation priority. They've poured millions of dollars into Coyote Valley. They've drawn a boundary around it that it's a state designated conservation area. The city of San Jose doesn't want battery storage in Coyote Valley. And actually, when you look at the demand for battery storage around the Greater Bay Area, this location is not where it's needed. So there's overwhelmingly compelling information that we provided the CEC about this proposal. So we've got energy experts and we have lawyers working on this. And this is how hard you have to work to stand up for a pillar that the state says is on par with energy and emissions for climate. So these are some of the things that should be self-evident, you know, to work on together and all be on the same page, but we have to not only be conserving land, but constantly looking out for these kinds of things and coming up with policy strategies and sometimes legal strategies about how we can push back on this. And then the final thing I want to say before I pass it over to Mark is I know we're going to celebrate Director Alexander on January 8th. But I just want to acknowledge this being your last meeting and just how wonderful it has been to work with you. And thanks so much for your public service to the Open Space Authority.
Thank you to everybody, the chair. It's been wonderful.
Yeah, good evening, directors. Mark Landgraf, Assistant General Manager. Thank you from me as well, Vicki, working with you on the CAC and on the board. But more to come on that, definitely. So Andrew was talking about efforts to educate the California Energy Commission. So I'll with just a very quick update on our continued conversations with PG&E, LS Power, and the city of San Jose on that co-location, hoped for co-location of the high voltage DC terminal for Power Santa Clara Valley at the PG&E substation. Those discussions are continuing, and we are making progress. I can't reveal too much detail, but we are considering a joint announcement sometime in the near future on that project, which would be just a wonderful outcome and would set such a terrific example for what can also be an outcome for the battery storage proposal, where we're all working together to come up with solutions that meet energy needs as well as conservation needs of the public. Another update that we have heard that the city intends to release the supplemental environmental impact report for the Heritage Oaks Cemetery project this month. So we expect to see that sometime soon. And then we'll be preparing comments to that EIR, especially with Bill's help and some consultants within the 60-day anticipated comment period. Also wanted to mention that after executing the memorandum of understanding with the city of Morgan Hill back on November 5th, in regard to planning and constructing trails at El Toro, a lot of excitement around that, and we've already had a first meeting with staff. Director Kenneth, thank you very much for participating in that meeting, already taking first steps down that road, or should I say along that path that we can continue to make progress on. So that's also something that's very exciting. Those are my updates.
Thank you. Good evening, directors. Lee Rauscher, Assistant General Manager, also Director Alexander. Thanking you for your service, and been such a pleasure working with you both on the board and CAC as well. And I look forward to saying a lot more in January. I also want to thank the rest of the board for completing your required trainings this year. It was fantastic, and it was such a fantastic achievement, apparently, that SB 827 will bring you yet one more required training in the new year. But obviously, with your track record, I know you can accomplish this one too. Every 2 years, board directors and some key staff will also have to take a 2-hour fiscal and financial training. And lucky for us, California Special District Association, or CSDA, just published their professional development catalog. Each of you have a copy of that tonight as well. And they have, imagine that, designed a course to fulfill this requirement, and it's in March. So the clerk of the board will work with your board early in the new year to set aside some conference space here. If you'd like to come in and view the live webinar here, you can take it remotely, and we can work out when you want to take it and facilitate getting logged into CSDA, etc. CSDA does have a lot of trainings to offer. They're not all relevant to board members, so I highlighted some of the ones that are specifically directed to board members. So don't let the thickness scare you off. It's not that hard of reading. There are some good highlights in there for you. And that's all I have. Good evening, directors. Megan Drager, Conservation and Strategic Partnerships Manager. Back at the November board meeting, we reported on this being hopeful, but I am now happy to report that it is official that the Open Space Authority was awarded the Wildfire Resilience Grant from the State Coastal Conservancy. That was for $240,000 that will be used to buy a big piece of heavy equipment, this excavator with a masticator attachment that we've been hearing so much about from our field staff, who are very excited about it. It will let us handle fuel breaks and managing vegetation management, that kind of thing, throughout our jurisdiction. We're really excited about that.
Good evening, directors. Elizabeth Loretto, Administrative Operations Manager. Just a really quick housekeeping update, which is that as we approach the new year and kind of the last of the holiday season, the office will be closed to the public from Monday 12/22 through Friday, the January 2nd. staff will still be working. I mean, I'm sure some people will be off with families and things like that, but we will still be responding to public inquiries and phone and email and all of that. But the office is not gonna be open, so if you're planning on stopping by, we won't necessarily be here. But also reminder, the preserves are gonna be open every one of those days, so plenty to enjoy.
Okay. Thank you all. After report, you guys, I still amazed the amount of work that you're doing, following. Mark, you've got us all very curious about this conversation that you're gonna have, this announcement that you, and sometimes use your date, it's like,
If it's about my holiday. trip,
no,
Oh, but the other one.
The other one, you know exactly what I'm. Very, very politically correct. Okay. So under board member updates. Director Kennett,
Oh,
oh,
boy.
legal counsel.
Finally have something.
Yeah, no, okay, never, legal counsel, what do you have to share?
There were amendments to the Brown Act that go into effect on January 1. A lot of them, probably 60% of them won't apply to OSA because we're a small special district. But the second meeting in January, staff has asked me to give a presentation on changes that you should be aware of, as well as just sort of a review, refresher on the Brown Act. And anticipate perhaps a new board member as well, so that would be useful for them. And so stay tuned for that. Director Alexander, we worked together before you were on board. You were a client of mine many years ago, so it's always been a pleasure working with you, and we'll miss you. So, and finally, happy holidays to all.
Thank you. Okay. Kenneth, board report.
Well, also, I wish everybody a happy and safe holiday. And your future is not filled with guilt for abandoning us. And wish you well, moving to the city, right? Yeah, great. And so other than that, I attended the Farm Bureau's Christmas shindig. And unlike our gift exchange, it was somewhat different graphic and different mix of beverages. It made it kind of exciting. But other than that, I hope everybody has a good holiday.
Thank you. Director Matthews.
Vicki, I'm glad our paths crossed, however briefly, and good luck to you. Say the city to San Francisco.
Eventually,
Okay.
I think I know.
San Jose is I want to thank you for the little Christmas presents that Santa's elves leave every meeting, so they're very nice. This coloring book, which I was planning to give to my grandchildren, but there's some awesome puzzles in the back, so I think keep that. And I did attend the Christmas party. It was lovely. It's the first time I'd seen the warehouse. And I had to leave before the gift giving, but my family plays that particular kind of gift giving, and I want to know how exactly long that thing took to get through all those presents with all those people.
A full hour, and that's
How much?
like an hour and 15.
Oh, good timing. Well, happy holidays, everybody, and we'll see you after the first of the year.
Thank you. I also wanted to wish everybody happy holidays, and regarding the activity book, I was lucky enough to go with Charlotte and to deliver some to the Packard Children's Clinic by Good Sam. So they have them out on the table where the kids sit as they're waiting for their appointments with the coloring crayons. Right. And then I went to the County Parks Commission meeting, and I gave coloring book and crayons to the commissioners and some of the county staff. and they were very happy to receive it. So I want to say, oh, Lena, thank you for all the work you put in to telling us what other elected officials are in our district, because I can't tell you how long I looked at this going, I can't figure this out. So thank you. And just to let everybody know, I'm gonna make appointments with hopefully with the electeds or their staff, just to give an update on the work that we do here. I think everybody loves open space. And so if we can just get in the door and say, here's what we do, here's what we've accomplished, just, just so you know that we're there, and if people have any questions, they can reach out to us. So that's kind of like on my to-do list for January when it's cold.
I know, she's like, oh no, what is she gonna say? Director Alexander, it's been my pleasure working with you, and it's been great to have you as the vice chair, and we've gone through a lot in the last couple of years. And so I will greatly miss you, and I look forward to a great celebration in January, and I wish you all the future success, and I really wish you weren't moving, but I understand. Thank you. So my updates real quick. Special district had a meeting. I want big thanks to Carolyn and Lena for doing the presentation on the OSA. As chair, I get to follow what presentations we do. So they gave an excellent presentation to the board members, got some good questions. We're trying to get the other special district members to ask questions, which it worked. And then also attended LAFCO meeting as an alternate, and I can tell that the new chair of LAFCO is now, her name's gone out of my head. I'll think of it. Yeah. Rosemary Kamei. And Eureka is now the vice chair. I'm wondering, so if Eureka can't attend, then I get to be the sub for the vice chair. Fun. As you know, I do Jim Bell and then Eureka Kishimoto. So, and that went well. There was no issues with that. I also attended a meeting that Rokana did for members of the Santa Clara County Democratic Party, had a little small gathering. And as I said, I would be remiss if I did not introduce myself as saying from the Open Space Authority. And I talked about environmental regulations around battery storage and data centers. And he assured everybody in the room, I have it all on record, that he is going to push for more regulations, because a lot of the governor vetoed a lot of those potential bills going forward, that he would hold tech companies accountable. So I have a follow-up with you, Mark, I have a staff, but he said we do a follow-up to talk about that. That's it for me. You want to go last, or you want to go last? Okay.
She'll go last.
Yeah. She's the last.
Just really quickly, thank you, Vicky, for being a great partner at the table, and just your support and guidance for the last few months. I know it was a short time that I got to work with you, but I appreciate your support in the last few months and just getting me through this and navigating this process. So thank you. And I also want to thank Nick for doing the Comunidad del Valle report. And if you haven't seen it, it was wonderful. You did a fantastic job. And I also want to thank Charlotte for all her support in the back end and making sure that logistics were handled with NBC. And I think it was an incredible report, and hopefully you continue doing that in the next year. And just happy holidays to all of you. So thank you.
And Director Alexander, it was really a great time working with you last few years. There is no doubt in my mind, everybody really miss you. But thank you for your service, and thank you the time you spent with us. It was great. Other than that, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and Happy New Year as well. Hopefully we can meet everybody's next year. Thank you.
Yeah, and Director Sutherland has a yes.
Yes. Director Alexander, we met on CAC, and you were with us a little bit of time before you moved up to the board. Thank you for all of your thoughtful conversations. I enjoyed working with you on the CAC. I've enjoyed my time sharing the board space with you too. And, I know that I will miss you. Thank you.
I can go now.
You can go now.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your comments and your support. It's been an absolutely wonderful experience being on the CAC and then the board, working with the staff, learning more about the OSA, the mission, being so impressed by the professionalism, I've mentioned several times how important it is to me, all the work based on science, on data. It's just an exceptional organization, and I appreciate you all. I'll miss you all. I'm excited about the future, but also sad for what I'll be leaving. So thank you. Happy holidays, and I'll see you in January.
Okay, with that, I want to wish everybody happy holidays, safe travels if you go anywhere. And peace for 2026. This has certainly been a year, so hopefully 2026 will be something we can all look forward to. Thank you all. The meeting is adjourned.